the way that we perceive ourselves, we need to do something about that. And I think this is where it all starts. We're okay. We have, and we need to teach our children as well that this is a good place to be. We can really help ourselves. We can find arousal in a different way. And I know we'll talk about different vibrators and even the clitoris, the shape of the clitoris. And, we don't know. I just seem to do a lot of sex education, psycho ed, when I'm with clients. And love doing it because it can change people's lives.
I think there is we know there's an orgasm gap between men and women across the lifespan, and penetrative sex doesn't actually work for a big proportion of the population premenopausally. So I think there are things women are also trained to, I think, because culturally we find ourselves pleasing sometimes, so not being able to ask for what we want, and this translates into our sexual relationships. And I think if these things exist premenopausally, when there's change to our gynecological health, unfortunately it exacerbates all these problems that existed before. So I think we need to, and I often talk about this when we're talking about a change postnatally, but we can maybe look at the menopause as a point where we can really change what our expectations are. So it's a time to reset and be really positive about what could come next for us sexually, because we're going to have to be open about all these things. We need to manage, like you say, Claire, the medical things that are going on for us during the menopause. But then we need to be able to address the issues that are going on that are maintaining the pain or maintaining the problems, and they might be more relationship based or something we can address psychosexually. So there is a lot going on, but I think we can be really positive. Everybody who's here tonight or is listening, and in fact you're putting this information out there, we can be really positive about the fact that change is possible, I think.
So really important message there about valuing yourself and articulating what you want. Sue, what I imagine though, that is not always easy to do in a relationship, particularly if you've got an established routine in a relationship. What advice do you give your clients, about having those conversations, about how they articulate to each other about what's important, and what type of sex they enjoy and how they enjoy it?
Well, the way I work is I would normally see the couple together if they're in a couple. If they're not in a couple, whether they're heterosexual or same sex, it doesn't matter. So if they're not in a couple, I'll see them on their own. So initially I would just hear and try to hear everything that they're saying about their life. Then I would do individual sessions, and within the individual sessions, we look at predisposing, precipitating and maintaining factors, exactly what Eleanor just said, that's the key. What are the stories that were given to you when you were younger? And what have you built on those stories, and then how are you maintaining them? And it's that point that when you get to a situation where you might say, I've never had an orgasm, and I can't tell him now, or I can't tell her now. What do? I don't like penetrative sex, or if I'm in a sex relationship, I don't want a dildo penetrating me. So you build up, you get a full history, a full story of what they want. And then what I do is I write a formulation, and I pull all that information together and enable some sharing, some open conversation and open dialogue to see what they would like to do and how they would like to change this. And actually in sex therapy, sex is banned to start off with. You don't have intercourse. And when I say sex is banned, what I want to say is sex to me, maybe sex is very different to everybody else. Sometimes people have sex and they don't have a penetration. They may never have had penetrative sex. So now it can be something different. You can choose what you want. You can learn how to hold each other differently. Just taking them through a different process of connecting and being together. It may bring up issues that have never been addressed, and then it's an opportunity to be able to address those too. And it really is a new beginning.
Sue, one of the things I've heard you say, which I thought was just lovely, you talked about discovering a new love language in your relationship. Because when we were chatting about this and preparing, we put the challenge into the room. Can you really have your best sex, going into your 40s, 50s, 60s and beyond? And I know I was very inspired by what you said, is that, yes, you have these conversations, you find your love language. But I think it's the message that Clare and Eleanor have been reinforcing as well. We owe it to ourselves as women. We owe it. We're going to live another 30, 40, 50 years. Of course you want to have a great sex life. We'll all feel better. So, and any other thoughts before I ask Clare and Eleanor about some other solutions? And I know Eleanor's got some products that she's going to share with us, to show us that can, and I know you recommend them as well. Both of you do, Clare and Sue, to spice things up a bit.
Yeah. Well, what I want to say is, if you have a partner who is a female partner, they may not be experiencing the same thing as you, and have a conversation, discuss, talk about what's happening. And I'm sure you will do, but just really make sure you're being heard. And you may, if you have a male partner, have a conversation about them and how they feel should you have pain, vaginismus, because they may then have erectile problems. And what I find is that, sometimes the partners won't even approach their partners because they think, well, they might have premature ejaculation because they don't want to hurt their partner. They may not be able to get erections for fear of all those things that are happening to them. And if they're, having night sweats and they're feeling really uncomfortable, there's that conversation that needs to be had around that. So I would just say, I'm just saying conversation all the time, aren't I? And find out, as you're saying, the love language. Gary Chapman and his 5 love languages. What does your partner want to receive? Don't give them what you want to receive. Find out what they want and really start saying, we can do this now.